Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Data Odyssey. Till our last video, we had explored about metadata tables, metadata files, and prior to that, the architecture of Apache Iceberg. Now, as I promised to you people that we will also explore the practical aspects of Apache Iceberg, we are going to start that from this video. Okay, so going forward, what we'll do, like in this video, I'll explore the theoretical part, and then in the next video, I'll explore the practical part. Okay, and we'll do this alternatively: theoretical, practical, theoretical, practical. Okay, and there are the three or more practical use cases that I'm going to discuss with respect to Apache Iceberg as a table format, right? So let's not waste time and get started. As you can already see on the screen, it's written branching and tagging. This is the concept that we are going to study today, right? But you must have also seen on the thumbnail, which most of you must have already, that can we branch our data like Git? My answer to you is yes, we can. Okay. So similar to the manner in which we have various environments in Git with respect to your code movement, like the dev, right? You have your QA and you have your prod. Similar kind of movement we can do with respect to your data for Apache Iceberg tables. How we can do that, we'll explore that part. All right. But prior to that, let us just recap the concept of branching and tagging in a very concise manner, and then we'll jump into that concept with respect to your data movement in Apache Iceberg tables. All right. So initially we'll explore the concept of branching with respect to your code movement in Git. Then we'll understand it we'll understand it with respect to your data in Apache Iceberg tables, and then again tagging with respect to your Git, and then tagging with respect to your data in Apache Iceberg tables. All right, that's what we are going to basically do in this video. Now, so in any project that you work upon, all right, you have your dev environment, you have your QA environment, you have your prod environment primarily. Of course, in many cases, like in my previous project, we had a staging environment in between dev and QA, and the purpose was something different. Okay, we'll not get into intricacies of that. That how can multiple environment be set up with respect to your code movement. We'll just understand it why this happens. All right. So why dev QA prod? Okay, these are individual branches in your Git. You basically push your code to Git to these branches. But why these different environments? First of all, dev environment is the environment where the developers actually develop their code uh, so that it works on your data. Okay, I'm talking with respect to data engineering concept, but it applies to entire software engineering projects, right? So in the dev environment, any developer writes a code which applies correctly to your data. Okay, and they perform certain level of unit testing with respect to it, and if it's working fine, then the code that is written by the developer in the dev environment is actually passed, okay, by the reviewer. Okay, once the code is pushed to this dev environment. Now, how do you push code to the dev environment? The code written by you, actually, you create a feature branch out of the dev environment, you make your individual changes over there, and then you push to it, right? Why these feature branches? Because at an individual level, right, at an individual level, each and every developer needs to work. They cannot directly test this environment. Okay, they need to, or this branch, they need to create their own feature branch, work on their own feature branch, and push their changes to this dev branch, right? Now, after they perform certain level of unit testing, and it seems that the code is actually correct. Okay, overall it looks correct. They push the code to the QA environment. Now, why this QA environment? Okay, QA environment is basically the quality analysis environment. What does it mean basically? So QA environment actually, in most of the cases, has subset of the production grade data or the production data basically, right? So QA environment has this kind of data. Now, what do? You basically test out your code on that production data. Why do we have this environment? It's basically utilized in order to, you know, test out like whether there's any bug or not. Have you handled all the edge cases which can occur in production grade data, right? So you kind of handle the edge cases, the bugs that you might face in your production grade data, you fix it. Okay, You test out the performance, all right? You test out various things, and finally, if it seems correct, then you basically push down your code to your prod environment, okay, on which you will basically run the code. You will not make any further changes in the prod environment. This is what usually happens within any project, right? Now, the same concept applies to your tables, or you can say the data in Apache Iceberg. How does it apply? Let us see it. Okay. And why do we need this concept? Okay. So basically, if you look at the screen, I've explained to you, right? Whenever you make or add data to your Apache Iceberg tables, various snapshots are created, right? You insert the table, right? And then again, you inserted newer values in the second run or the next day, then another snapshot is created, right? Then third snapshot is created accordingly to the way in which you continue inserting data into the table or merging data into the table or various kind of DML operations that takes place, right? Now, in in what case we might require this branching concept with respect to your data? Suppose there is a data scientist in your team, all right? Now, the particular data scientist wants to test out his ML model on top of our data. Okay. Suppose they want to find out the revenue forecasting model. So your data is with respect to your revenue, and they want to find out test out the revenue forecasting ML model which they have developed on your data basically. What will you do? So suppose you have a prod data, right? Let's just say this is your prod data, and he's saying that I want to test out on your prod data. What will you do? What's the easiest way out? Is it okay if I like you ask him, right? Is it okay if I give you a similar say if I give you the same data but not to work on it directly? The answer should be yes, right? So he will get the data, but he will not work on the production table. He will basically get the same data that the production table has. And he's saying that, see, what should I do? That basically, I want the data till fiscal year 2025. And you somehow or the other identify that snapshot 2 has data till fiscal year 2025. It consists the revenue till fiscal year 2025. What you do? You create a branch on top of it. Okay. Suppose the branch is ML underscore EXP. All right. And this ML underscore ESB will be utilized by the data scientist people to test out their ML model. Now your confusion in your mind, or the confusion in your mind might be that how will they test it out? Will it not affect the actual table? Just think in such a way that this branch is actually a pointer to your actual data files. Okay. Now, whenever they make any kind of forecasting or test out the revenue forecasting model, they will test out on this branch. They will not actually test out on the actual table. All right. Now, since they are testing out on the branch, there's no risk that the actual table will be affected by their uh, you know, by the work basically, right? Now, how do you do it? You basically write this statement, okay? Alter table, default or department, where default is the schema and department is the table name, create branch MLEXP. And it says that at max, I will require 10 days for this entire experiment. You say retain 10 days, okay? So basically what you're doing that you are not allowing the data scientist to touch your production table, but you are saying that I will allow you to work on the production data. How will you do? You will basically create out a snapshot. You'll basically create out a branch out of one of the snapshot, and the data scientist will start working on that particular branch. As a result of this, he will not affect our original production table. Anyhow, it can happen, right? So that is the use case. Okay. So that is one of the use cases of branching. Okay. So the data scientist starts writing to this branch, and when he sees that his ML model is performing quite fine, then like after 10 days, it will automatically the branch will drop out. Okay. So that's what happens with respect to your branching, right? So doesn't it look quite similar to your code movement in Git? You basically pull out a branch, you test out your things, and yeah, the concept is this, that the branch, if you said the retainment of that particular branch of 10 days, it will drop. You test on that branch and it drops. This is one of the use cases of branching, but you will be more, you'll find it more similar to your code movement in Git when I explain you one of the other use cases of branching. Okay. So let me just write it down. This is one of the use cases, and this use cases of branching is data experimentation. Now we do have another use case that I will explain you towards the end of the video. All right. Now let us understand the concept of tagging. As you can see on the screen, we have the concept of tagging. Okay. Let me just move the diagram below it a little bit down. Okay, and I'll move it down here. All right. So now we have the concept of tagging. What is tagging basically? With respect to your code movement in Git, what happens is whenever you kind of when do you create your tag? Why do you need tag? You basically, it's utilized to mark a specific commit. Now, suppose in the above diagram, this feature branch, right? Whenever you commit your code to this dev branch, you say that this particular, you tag it basically, this particular commit is with respect to this purpose. Now, what is the purpose? The purpose is basically to mark that particular commit, that this particular commit was especially utilized to perform this specific task. Okay, and it might be a unique identifier for the developers going forward, like if they want to see in future like why this specific commit was made. Of course that sheet can be, they can see it with the help of the description, but the tagging, right, that particular tagging will help them understand in the most concise way and the in a better way. So basically to mark your commit, right, that's the concept of tagging in terms of Git, in terms of code movement in Git. Now, this similar concept applies in the world of data movement in Apache Iceberg tables. Okay, what is that? You have your various snapshot, right? In snapshot one, you when you create the table, you insert certain values. In snapshot two, you have more values. In snapshot three, again you have another set of values. So the multiple snapshots get created. But you want to say that in a particular snapshot, I want to mark it. Okay, this snapshot should help me identify that why this particular what extra feature or what extra feature with respect to the table this particular snapshot had. What will you do? You'll basically tag that particular snapshot. How will you tag it? Suppose like if you have seen our previous videos, we had first created the table, inserted the values into the department table, and after that we altered the table with an additional column named manager ID. Same thing will happen to this. Okay, what will you do? Like suppose in snapshot 2, you have your manager ID. After altering the table, insert values into that, and you want to mark that this is the snapshot from which our manager ID is also getting tracked in the table. So you'll tag it, add manager ID as add manager ID. Okay, and what is the command for it? Alter table default or department, create tag, add manager ID, retain tenders. Suppose if you want to retain that particular manager ID till 365 days, till 1 year, you want to identify that this particular snapshot was used for this purpose. And when till after 1 year or after 1 month, even the users get habituated with the changes, then you kind of decide to drop it. So it's according to your decision when you want to drop that particular tag or that particular branch, even as we had explored just a few minutes back, right? So that's the concept of tagging and branching with respect to your data in Apache Iceberg tables. Now let us understand a production use case, what might happen. Okay, I have explained to you tagging and explained to you one of the use cases of branching, even, right, which is data experimentation. Now the most one of the use cases of branching which kind of I get amazed by it and I also love it is actually WAP. Okay, let me write it down. Two is WAP. What is WAP? It's basically write, audit, and publish. All right. So this is one of the use cases of branching. Okay, but we'll explore the tagging in conjunction with it. Now, how does it happen? Okay, so for example, this is your main branch. What do you mean by the main branch? Main branch basically means that this is the production table. Just understand in this way. Okay. Now, suppose this is snapshot one. Okay. This is snapshot one. Now, in snapshot 2, you had added the manager ID and you had altered the table, right? Like you had basically altered the table by adding manager ID and you insert values in it. Then snapshot 2 will be created. We have also seen this practically, right? Now, after adding up manager ID, basically what happens is the data scientist tells that I want to like basically utilize your production table after this manager ID addition to forecast something like you can say like what kind of departments might come in the future or any kind of ML model use case, or if even if it's not addition of manager, like if you consider it with respect to revenue, like they add an extra column where the tag where they actually track down the adjustments or track down the cogs or whatever, right? So after this particular snapshot, I want to like this particular snapshot, I basically want to utilize it for what purpose? For my data experimentation purpose. The MLX engineer tells that. What do? You do not directly give your table name, right? You tell that I'll create a branch on top of my table, okay, after addition of manager ID, and then I'll give you that branch to test out the data. You just tell me that till how many days you want that testing of or the data experimentation to take place. Till that date, you retain the data, and then you tell him like you can utilize that particular retain the branch basically, right? So next going forward, you tell that see you can actually test out your data on this branch. This would indirectly not affect our branch, our table, original table, and you can also fulfill out your task, right? Your data experimentation happens. Okay. Now think logically. We are creating a pointer to our original table. Suppose the data scientist or the ML engineer tell what he does. He kind of inserts certain values from his own independent. Will a new snapshot will get created for the table or for the branch? My answer to you is a new snapshot will get created for the branch. Nothing will get affected with respect to the table. This is something unique, right? So whenever he adds something to the table for to the branch basically, right, a new snapshot gets created with respect to your branch data experiment. It's unique, right? That means what happens is all your data files which are present with respect to your original table are getting pointed by the branch. But when you add certain new data, okay, or when you alter the data, since this Apache Iceberg majorly follows the copy on right architecture, I suppose that's the name. I think like I'm very bad with names actually. So what it does is basically whenever you make any changes to your underlying data, a newer data file gets created. Okay, so the data file gets copied and newer data gets written. That's basically the concept, right? So coming back to this concept that whenever a newer data is added to the branch, the original table is not getting affected, but new set of data files are created, which are with respect to your branch only. It's not with respect to your data. And all these data files, each and everything which are with respect to your branch will get retained till the time you say this branch should exist. After that, they all will get vanished. Okay, that's basically the purpose of one of the use cases of uh, this branching, right? We have explored it initially, but I'm exploring it to you in conjunction of tagging. Now, the next thing that you want to say is on top of this branch, okay, data experimentation branch, which seems to be perfect. What you say is actually, I will also add the year-end adjustments. Okay, this is snapshot one. Okay, you created a branch on top of it. That's all done. Now, like this, suppose this is snapshot one, this is snapshot two, this is snapshot three. Okay, let us say this is snapshot three and this is not snapshot one. Okay, this is snapshot three. All right, and this is snapshot two, but for the data experiment. Okay, now let us see that what will happen. This is snapshot three with respect to a table. You create a branch on top of it, and when you may make additional changes or you add data, then snapshot two with respect to your branch will get created. For branch, this is snapshot one, but for the actual table, this is snapshot three, right? Now, On top of snapshot 3, what you do, you create a branch named WAP. Now I've told you WAP basically means write, audit, and publish. Why do you create that branch? Okay, basically you create that particular branch because you want to push certain amount of data, manually to that table. Now, why would you want pushing certain amount of data manually to that table? It does happen in like if I talk with respect to finance, suppose year-end adjustments, they are not coming directly from the source. They are being done manually by the finance people, and they tell you that for it to be utilized by the Power BI users, what will they do? That they will give you that set of data in any format, whether it is in Excel or whatever format they give it, and then they'll tell you that push that particular data to the table. What will you do? Will you actually as a data engineer do it directly on the production table? No, you will not get allow it getting affected. So what will you do? You will basically create a branch on top of a snapshot 3. You will actually push your adjustments data, year-end adjustment data with respect to your finance to this particular branch. Then, so that's the writing part, right? You write your data to the branch. Then you audit it. Now, what does audit basically mean? Okay, let me just write it down. So when you say we are auditing on that particular, auditing on that, let me write it down here. It's not clear. Okay. Now, when you say that we are auditing on that particular data before, after writing, what do you mean? Basically, you kind of carry out various checks with respect to your data, like null checks, okay, on top of your data, which you're writing down to that branch. Then primary key checks, right? You're checking that whether after addition of my adjustment data, my original tables primary keys are not getting messed up, right? So these kind of checks you do. So this is the auditing part, right? This is the auditing part that you're doing. Now, after the audit has been done by you by us, okay, you basically decide, okay, everything seems correct. We'll push that adjustment data to your original table. So basically, you push it. I've not written it down over here. Let me just write it down. So you kind of push. Okay, let me just push it over here, and okay, let me write it down. So you kind of push or publish this particular branch to original. Uh, 1 second. Yeah, to original table. Okay, that's what is happening. So you publish or push to your original table. Now, once the publisher push has happened, you basically, let us suppose you tag after pushing this particular snapshot. Okay, what is this particular snapshot? After that branching and everything, this turns out that it will be snapshot 4 for your table, right? Because you pushed the audited data to this table after snapshot 3. So this is snapshot 4. Now, what happens is you basically want that this particular snapshot should be snapshot 4 should be actually tagged. You want to give it a special name. Okay, suppose this adjustment was for the year till 2024. Like what happens, it might happen that every year after all the revenue data has been put in place for your for a product or a company, what you do is you push the adjustment till after that year. Year ending, like you push your adjustment basically to the table, or you kind of create your own adjustments after all the revenue data has flown. Okay, so you did your adjustment, you pushed it to the original table, and you mark it then. Okay, and what you want to mark that particular snapshot as, you say it as EOY 2024. So you tagged it, right? So going forward in future, if anyone like till the next 2 years want to just identify that which particular snapshot has the final original revenue plus the adjustments for your for our data, you will be able to actually find it out. Okay, and using what? Using this particular tag EOY 20. So we understood the entire concept of branching, tagging, and also WAP actually. right? So this is one of the features which is provided by the Iceberg, and it was well thought of by the Netflix people who had actually introduced Iceberg, right? So we explored all these concepts. In the next video, we'll kind of try to explore this concept practically, right? In the real world, how do we implement this WAP? Okay, we try to explore this use case maybe. Okay, on top of any revenue data, I will just mock up the data. All right. Now, just a heads up, we had explored all these kinds of all the practical concept by implementing our own cluster, because till that time, Databricks did not actually have Iceberg as its proprietary table format. But recently, it has introduced Iceberg also, which is actually well, like according to the uh, whatever they published, newsletter they published, that it works well with Unity catalog provided by them. Okay, we just explored this entire practical concept on top of that. Okay, so if I talk with respect to the cluster setup, it's all same, nothing will get changed, but like you will be able to like actually utilize your Iceberg tables in the very normal way that that we do basically for any cluster setup, like no special restriction or something that we have explored, right? If you look at the cluster setup video. Okay, so we'll explore it over there. Okay, so thank you so much, thank you so much for staying up till this end, and hope you enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe, because I'll be exploring more such concepts in detail going forward, right? Thank you so much.